Day 2, Obedience without entitlement. We can never obligate God by our obedience or our sacrificial service. Even if we were perfectly obedient in all our Christian duties, we would still be forced to say, "We are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty." Luke 17:10. Discuss. Have you ever been pulled over for a traffic offense and said, "I'm guilty," to the officer? How did the truth affect the situation? Suppose you perfectly obey all the traffic laws of your state. You always stay within the speed limit, always come to a complete stop at stop signs, always drive in the proper lane, always use your turn signals, always obey every traffic rule. Do you receive any reward? Not at all. That is what you are supposed to do. You have only done your duty. You do not, by perfect obedience of the traffic laws, obligate the state to reward you in any manner. All you can say is, "I have only done my duty." As the sovereign ruler of the universe, God has the right to require perfect obedience and faithful service from all of us without in the least obligating himself. We owe him such obedience and service. If we were to perfectly obey every command God has given and faithfully perform every duty, which, of course, we never do, we still could only say, "I have merely done my duty." We cannot obligate God in any way. God himself asserted his freedom from any obligation when he said to Job, "Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me." Job 41:11. God was not stating a mere abstract, theological principle. He was rebuking an attitude of, "I'm not getting what I deserve," on Job's part. Job, in defending himself against the false accusations of his so-called friends, had fallen from an attitude of grace into thinking he deserved better treatment from God. He had fallen from an attitude of, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised," into an attitude of, "It profits a man nothing when he tries to please God." 1:21:34:9. 1. Have you ever been in a difficult situation in which you started out with humble faith but ended up with a changed attitude of deserving better from God? What brought about the change? Discuss. Raise your hand if you are a self-proclaimed 12-hour worker. Now raise your hand if you see yourself as one who has received salvation in Jesus in spite of your sins. How are we all in the same category, technically? Job had, over the time of his suffering, shifted from the position of an 11th-hour worker to one who felt he had indeed borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day. Matt 20:12. And God directly addressed Job's attitude. If God were to deal with us today as he did with Job, I wonder how many of us would receive a similar rebuke? There is a very high sense of entitlement within modern society. Older people feel entitled to certain benefits from the government. Middle-aged people feel entitled to generous health and retirement benefits from their employers. Younger adults feel entitled to immediately enjoy the same standard of living their parents took years to achieve, and young people feel entitled to whatever material luxuries they desire. 2. What are some other things people feel entitled to, regardless of age? List below items that have been on your own entitlement list at one point or another. Many observers of our culture are quite concerned about this pervasive sense of rights and expectations within our society as a whole. But for Christians, such a high sense of entitlement is especially detrimental to our spiritual lives. For one thing, God is the ultimate supplier of all our needs and desires. Every good gift is from Him, regardless of the intermediate means through which that gift is supplied. As James said, every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Jaws 1:17. However, God, through his providential workings, almost always uses some person or institution or other human instrumentality to meet our needs. Ultimately, though, he is the one who provides or withholds what we desire or think we need. Therefore, a high sense of entitlement and expectations, though seemingly directed toward some person or institution, is actually directed toward God and His providential dealings in our lives. If we do not receive what we think we have a right to expect, it is ultimately God who has withheld. More importantly, our sense of entitlement, which may be originally directed toward other people or institutions, is almost invariably transferred directly to God. We begin to be as demanding of our rights before God as we are toward people. It is bad enough, and certainly not very Christian, to have the attitude, the world owes me something just because I am, but to have the attitude that God owes me something is exceedingly dangerous to spiritual health. It will ruin our relationship with God, nullify our effectiveness in ministry, and perhaps turn us bitter or resentful. Unlike our government or school or family or employer, God will not give in to our sense of rights or respond to pressure tactics. We never win the battle of rights with God. He cares too much about our spiritual growth to let that happen.